What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 8 of the Sunshine State Sports Rundown. And sorry if I'm keeping it down a little bit. Sorry if you guys can't hear me to my maximal level. However, late at night, parents are sleeping, so we got to make sure we level that voice right now so that it doesn't get too loud. We don't want to wake up mom or dad. Just kidding. But yeah, it actually is 10:03, 10:05 on a school night. So parents are sleeping right now. Gotta keep it down. However, in this episode, we're going to go over all teams in Florida, talk about matchups coming up this week and futures for all the Florida teams, college and pro. So let's start out with college football. So I think the obvious thing with everyone that is looking to coming to this podcast for college sports alone and wants to learn about Florida in general, the main problem I would say, or actually there's two, are Florida State and Florida. But I think on some standpoint, I can't tell what's worse. I guess Florida State is worse because they lost at home twice. One to a group of five, one to a low feeder in their own conference. But let's start with the better of the two in Florida in a better situation. Now, they're both obviously not good, but the main topic in Florida college sports is who's going to be a starting quarterback for Florida. They went with Graham Mertz last week, but I think you have to turn it over to DJ Lagway, the young freshman. I get Mertz. Yes, he's a game manager, and I guess he's an average quarterback. And I don't think he's the reason for Florida not performing up to expectations. However, you want to give your five-star freshman a chance. Mertz isn't going to be the future, so why not start now with a new opportunity, a new way to enhance this Florida offense, make the offense be clicking on cylinders. And I think a big way to get that going is to give Lagway a chance, definitely a dual threat quarterback. Now, this Florida team has a lot of weapons. I'd like to see them be better in the wide receiver room. Yes, their wide receiver Wilson was banged up. The transfer from Arizona State also was questionable last week. I don't think he ended up playing, but the wide receiver room definitely needs to get open. On the defense, secondary is something that is excellent. You got guys like Marshall and Turner in the secondary, guys who got interceptions in both the Miami and Texas A&M game. So this UF team has a lot of potential, and I don't think it's a talent issue. A lot of it is Coach Napier. I don't think he's a great head football coach in terms of the college level. I think he's a great guy, but you need a fire lit inside of you, and you need to get mad and yell at these players and rub it in. I'll give you guys an example. The players play how the coach coaches. So if the coach is a nice, laid back guy, come game day, the Florida players are going to be laid back. They're going to be calm. But if he's very fired up, like Kirby Smart, hypes you up, gets you ready, explains the importance of the game, then you're going to be ready to be determined to curb stomp the other team. And that's the difference between Urban Meyer led Florida team and a Billy Napier led Florida team. I don't fear Florida from an opposing team. I think they play a soft style of football. The defense isn't there. We've talked about the talent on this team in the secondary, but the defense isn't there. The biggest disappointment has been the Florida State Seminoles, and I think this team is also very talented. You have such a good secondary again. Guys like Thomas, Brown, uh, looks like Cypress. Yes. So you have a solid team, but I think this is blame on the quarterback, DJU. Yes, he was coaching the Georgia Tech game, leading them downfield, but he doesn't do anything special like Mertz. Like you gotta blame a quarterback on at some point, and I think 50% of it is his fault. But another half is the defense just playing uninspiring football, and the team really isn't clicking. This running back room for Florida State is talented with Toafle. You have Lucas getting open for multiple receptions, getting easy catches, but team needs to improve. Let's go over to UCF, and this is a really solid team, a team that edged out TCU in the game last week, and their running back room is electric. Harvey having 29 carries. You have guys in the backfield like Boone and Richardson to support them. Uh, KJ Jefferson is an amazing quarterback. The run game is so solid. I think UCF is just only going to get better from here. They're a very decent team. Now let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes. So Cam Ward has been just an absolute upgrade, as I've mentioned multiple times, over a guy like Tyler Van Dyke. The running back room is super solid with guys like Damian Martinez, AJ Allen, who is amazing, Mark Fletcher. AJ Allen was huge. He had that big run last week. The defensive line is the best in the country with Ruben Bain, with Alston. So, they're physical on the D line. They can change each direction and they just dominate teams. Their performance on the field is something that is unmatched. They will take on the USF Bulls, and let's talk some South Florida football. So, Byron Brown has played some good football. However, a lot like DJU, he hasn't thrown for an insane amount of yards. The defense did lack a lot to Southern Miss last week. However, I thought the team was good. Still on offense, the wide receivers have been solid all season. Simmons and Atkins were expected to be the top two going into the season, but someone who has impressed all of us is Brown Stevens. I think the offensive line, like Heron, is going to be a top 3 round NFL draft pick. You have a guy like Singletary at tight end who can block well. So we're going to preview that matchup. We're going to make a separate video for that. Shout out to the loyal South Florida fan base viewers who are watching. Now let's go to the NFL over to that. And the Dolphins will be starting Skylar Thompson heading into week 3. Tua Tagovailoa went down with a concussion after being hit by Damar Hamlin while the Dolphins were driving into Bills territory inside their own 10. The two collided and Tua ended up being able to get up on the field but wasn't able to play the next play. He was took to the sideline and into the blue tent. After that, Skylar Thompson took reps. However, something big and something I want to discuss is, are they going to sign Ryan Tannehill? Because I think that's very possible. You could get a guy like Joe Flacco or Ryan Tannehill out of free agency who has proved that they can be good at an old age. The Jaguars are 0-2 after 2 disappointing losses. However, they will look to have some revenge. The Jaguars really haven't been able to get anything going through the receiver room, and some very questionable coaching decisions by Doug Peterson. Well, in both games, they went for it on 4th and 1 in their own territory in the second half, which ultimately cost them both games. The Buccaneers are on fire with Baker Mayfield leading the way to so many yards. He has been electric, throwing over for 500 yards in 2 games. Going over to baseball, the American League East, the AL East, has the Rays being eliminated from playoff contention. They're 74-77, which ranks them at 4th in the AL East. The other Florida baseball team, the Miami Marlins, are dead last in the NL East, just over 40 games under 500, with them being 56-95. Last week, preseason hockey is starting up, and the Panthers' first game at Amerant Bank Arena will air on September 26th versus the Nashville Predators. That'll do it for today's edition of the Sunshine State Sports Rundown. I'm your host, JJ Metz. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.